So a day after Iran's rocket attack, Israelis are bragging online about the fact that Iran wasn't able to kill any civilians. And I think this really goes to show how normalized killing civilians actually is in Israel, where they consider not killing civilians to be some sort of failure. But honestly, this kind of attitude isn't really surprising. Targeting civilians is literally Israeli military policy. And I can prove it to you because they actually wrote it down. It's called the Dahiya Doctrine. And this doctrine basically states that the IOF will use overwhelming, indiscriminate, and disproportionate force on specifically civilian targets and infrastructure in order to apply pressure onto resistance groups. The Dahiya Doctrine was formalized in 2006 during the Second Lebanese War, the last time that Israel invaded Lebanon, and is named after the Dahiya neighborhood in southern Beirut, which they bombed relentlessly in 2006 and which they are again bombing relentlessly right now and leveling entire residential apartment buildings. And since the Dahiya Doctrine has been invented, it's been applied repeatedly. Obviously first in 2006 in Lebanon, but also during 2008 in Operation Cast Lead, and also in 2014 during Operation Protective Edge, and of course now in 2023 during the genocide in Gaza. And in the Dahiya Doctrine, they lay out the exact narratives that we're hearing right now. They argue that rockets are hidden inside of houses and living rooms, that entire villages are turned into missile storage facilities. All of this, of course, without any sort of proof. And I feel like this really goes to show how much impunity that Israel has actually enjoyed for the past 75 years. Like, targeting and attacking civilians and civilian infrastructure is something that many countries do. But I don't know any other country that'll put it into writing and then double down on it when interviewed about it. But also the underlying strategy of a doctrine like this does acknowledge the fact that there are two sides to every conflict. There's a literal battle on the ground with people fighting, but there's also the battle for hearts and minds. That's part of the reason why Israel attacks civilians and civilian infrastructure, because they want to cause civil unrest. They want to cause chaos within those societies. And part of the reason that they feel so emboldened to do any of this is because they've had control of the information landscape for basically almost 100 years. But that's fundamentally all changed in the last year or so. So many of the myths that have been constructed to justify the occupation of Palestine have started to be questioned and dismantled. This is just like what happened during the Vietnam War, which many people at that time called the first televised war, because people actually saw the images from Vietnam on their TV screens, just like the way that we're seeing the images from Gaza and from Lebanon on our phones. At this point, a lot of us have our eyes open now, and once you see the truth, there is no looking away. So if you've made it this far in this video and you want to help out the people in Lebanon, please check out my link tree, because I have a database in there of Lebanese mutual aid funds. Everyone in that database is either a trusted individual or a mutual aid organization that's on the ground distributing aid. If you like my videos, please check out the contracitizens.org. It's a new initiative to try to make political activism less overwhelming and more inspiring and accessible. It's a bi-weekly newsletter where I'm writing education and calls to action and inspiring news, and it's also an online directory of just a bunch of helpful resources to help you be an engaged